Respected fellow practitioners and guests, in Brisbane, as in many parts of the world, we are celebrating Chinese New Year. And I believe, as with all New Year celebrations, most people at this time tend to think back over what their behavior has been in the past and to try to decide how to improve that behavior, to make resolutions for the upcoming year. And this is essentially what the talk today will be about. New Year's resolutions are very important, but we are also beginning a new millennium. So resolutions, correcting our behavior, are even more important at this time. As humans, as ordinary beings, we are subject to what is called the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. All three stem from our attachment to self, to our lack of understanding of our true place in the universe, and to our relationship to others in the universe with us. Greed is the first of the three poisons. Greed can be essentially believing that we truly can gain things, that we can keep things. It all goes back to selfishness. We believe that this body really does exist, that it really is mine. It is me. But if we think about it and try to discover where in this body I am, it'll be very difficult to come up with the exact location. Am I my heart? Am I my arm? Is me in the mind? If we search each of these places, every place throughout our body, we cannot come up with the one place that we say the mind, me, exists. So within this body, we have difficulty finding where I am. This body is simply a combination of different parts. 2 arms, 2 legs, different sense organs. None of them is me. But in this physical body, all of them are part of me. But there is no one organ, one spot that is truly, simply the concept of me. In our mistaken thinking that we exist in this body, we tend to protect this body. We think of things that we possess as truly belonging to us. We think if somebody threatens our ideas, if they disagree with us, that that is a threat to us. So when somebody comes up with an idea that is different than ours, we protect our idea, believing it is me, it belongs to me. We protect our possessions. Wealthy people go to elaborate lengths to try to protect their homes, their possessions, not understanding they really only have these possessions for a very short time. We all keep hearing we can take nothing with us to the next lifetime, but still we constantly buy things. We constantly try to keep what we have. Think of one of your most valued possessions. Think of trying to give that possession to somebody else. What are your thoughts? If you're like most people, you will find it is very difficult to think of giving away something that we highly value. This is an attachment. We want things. We cannot let go of them. We think things make us happy. But every time we acquire a new thing, after we have it for a short length of time, we then want the newest model of whatever it is. A bigger one, a better one, a nicer one. This is our human nature. Even children who are given toys, that they were in the store, they saw the toy, they wanted it, they yelled, they cried. Finally their mother gave in and bought the toy for them. The child went home with the toy. Sometimes in a matter of hours, they've lost interest. If you took them back to the store again, they would want another toy. We do the same thing. We just do it with more expensive toys. But the principle is the same. We are never satisfied. When we are trying to find satisfaction in possessions, we will never achieve satisfaction, because it is our nature to want more, to accumulate more, to impress others more. So we attach to things. If somebody takes something that is ours, we constantly think about it. I use the example of giving away something that we highly value. We know we are attached to something if when we think of giving it away, we are unable to. Or, upon giving it away, we constantly think about it. We go by the place where we used to keep it, and we wish we still had it. We wish we could still use it, still see it. We miss it. This is an attachment. And attachments are one of the major reasons we are still in the 6 realms of reincarnation. Because we attach to things, to people, to ideas. We have greed for all of these. In our greed to possess, we even wish to possess other people. We want others to respect us. We want others to love us. We want others to only think of us, to always come back to us, to always be with us. This is greed. This is another attachment. This is not realizing that we are all impermanent. We are all changing from second to second. None of us will remain the same. None of us can keep what we now have. As humans, we live a very short lifetime. It feels very long when we are unhappy. But when we are happy, it feels very short. Albert Einstein, who was trying to explain the theory of relativity, defined it in words that most of us can understand. Relativity is when you put your hand on a hot stove for 5 minutes. It feels like eternity. But if you are a man, relativity is sitting next to a pretty woman for 5 minutes and feeling that it is an instant. Everything is relative. We keep nothing with us. It is all changing. We can keep something now. Somebody can be with us in this moment, but they may not always be with us. Again, we are attached to people. We want them to remain with us. When they die, we continue to miss them. We continue to think of them. We feel the very strong affinity with them. We cannot keep people with us. When we are born in our next lifetime, we will feel equally strongly about other people. And we will be born into our next lifetime within reincarnation if we do not realize how deep, how harmful our attachments are. Our attachments to people are another reason why we come back to this world. When we are dying, we can do many different things with our thoughts. What most people do, what most people think of as they are dying, is what has happened in their lifetime and what will happen in the future. On the subject of greed, greed often comes up in our dying moments. We have been speaking to a group of practitioners in Singapore, and every other week would go back to speak to this small group. The first time we went, we learned of a woman who was very ill. She would be in the hospital, then she would be dismissed from the hospital and return to her home. Most of the people within this group were friends and knew this woman. They were trying to get her to practice, to chant the Buddha's name, to take the 3 refuges of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Whenever the friends got together with this one friend in the hospital, they would talk about possessions. They all liked buying jewelry. The woman in the hospital, who was very sick, would borrow money from people. They would all be shopping, and she would say, "I forgot my money. Can I borrow some from you so I can buy this?" And then she had the habit of never repaying the money. The friends were all equally upset about this. They were attached to the money. They had greed for possessions, for money. One time, the last time the woman was in the hospital, one of the friends happened to be with her. And she was lying there in what they thought was one of her normal visits to the hospital. And as she was lying there, she was thinking of one of the times she had actually loaned money to somebody else. And she had loaned that person some of her jewelry. And as she was bitterly complaining that this person had failed to return the jewelry. At that moment, she died. The friend who was with her said within 30 minutes, the woman who had died had turned a very dark gray. If we are very angry as we are dying, that anger will lead us down into the hell realms. The appearance of this woman right after she died was very bad. It would seem to indicate that she had been born into the hell realms. Her face looked very angry, very upset. It was contorted with her anger. And that is how she died. She died this way because of greed. She was not thinking of the kindness of the friend who had come to visit her, of the kindness of all the friends who kept coming to visit her, who kept wanting her to chant the Buddha's name, wanted to help her, wanted her to take refuge in the Triple Jewels, wanted to help her find a better life. She wasn't thinking of any of that. She wasn't thinking of the nurses and doctors who were trying to help her. She was thinking of her jewelry. She was thinking of anger. And more than likely, she was born into the hell realms. But her greed also could have led her to the hungry ghost realm. The hungry ghost realm is a realm where beings have insatiable desires. They are constantly hungry, constantly thirsty. Their stomachs are immense, but their throats are so tiny. No food, no water, no liquid can pass through. They are unable to quench their desires. Beings there are led there because of their greed. Greed ties us to reincarnation. Greed leads to so many wrongdoings. Because of greed, we become angry because others take something that we want, or others have something and we want it. We become angry because we think this cup is real. This cup can be mine. And when someone takes it, even when we give it to someone, more than likely, we keep thinking about it. The Buddha told us that greed is one of our most severe problems. But out of his great compassion, he taught us a way to counteract our greed. It is the first of the 6 paramitas that bodhisattvas practice. To counteract our greed, we can practice giving. Again, think of one of those most valued possessions. Think about trying to give it away. Think about whether you would miss it, whether you would want it back. If we truly give something to others, we give it without thinking. They need it. We give it to them. Somebody is thirsty. Somebody says, "That's a beautiful cup. I'd like to find one like that." And we say, "Here." And we give it to them. True giving is giving it to the person without any second thought. And true giving is after we have given, we don't miss it. We find another cup. We do not think of it. Every time we want to drink water, we do not think, "I wish I had that cup." When we practice giving, we can start out with something very small and keep giving. We live in a very affluent world. We have many possessions. We need very few. We can only wear so many clothes. We only need so many clothes to protect us against cold weather, to be comfortable in very warm weather, to protect us against rain. We only need a small house, a small home. We only need so many things in that home. We don't need a lot of things. We can practice giving initially, if we find it difficult, by giving small things. Start by giving what you haven't used for a while. If you haven't used something for 1 or 2 years, do you really need to keep it? Are you really going to use it in the future? Do you have something else you could use instead? If so, give it away. There are always people, even in this affluent world, who need things, who truly need things. When we practice giving, and we do so as the Bodhisattvas do, spontaneously, then after we have given, we will not feel regret. We will not feel a sense of loss. We will feel quietly happy because we have helped another person. We did not need it, and we have helped someone else. Next, practice giving things that you do want. Maybe something you have had for many years, something you use every day, many times during the day. If we can give something like this without really thinking about it, because we feel the person needs it more than we do, and afterwards, if we happen to think about it, we still feel happy. We are glad that we gave it. And we will realize that even if they do not use it, in that moment we gave it to them. We gave them a gift of loving kindness. And even if they only needed it in that one brief moment, and if they only used it for the short time you were with them. And then if they never used it again, we can still be happy, knowing that we are beginning to sever our attachments, and that we are one tiny, tiny step closer to severing all our attachments, all the things that tie us to reincarnation. And we are one tiny step closer to awakening, to thinking as bodhisattvas and Buddhas think. We can practice giving of our possessions. We can also practice giving of our physical strength. This giving is another form of counteracting greed. How many times have somebody asked us to help them do something? We felt tired. We felt like we'd really stay home and rest. We'd rather do that. We just didn't want to go out. It was late. We'd had a long day. We were tired. Could they find somebody else to help them? Even if we do help, we have that nagging thought, I really wish I'd stayed home. I'm tired. I wish I wasn't here. So we help them, but we do so grudgingly. We keep thinking, I wish I was at home, relaxing, comfortable, not having to do this. After I do this, I'm going to be very hot, very tired, very uncomfortable. This is greed. This is thinking this body is important. Keeping this body comfortable is important. Keeping this body comfortable, keeping happy, just might be more important than helping somebody else. This is greed. To counteract this kind of greed, again, we can practice giving. We can give freely of ourselves. I'm sure all of us have friends, people we know, people we respect, who when somebody asks for something, or it just looks like somebody needs something, this person we respect doesn't even think about it. They automatically help the other person. And when we think about it, we will realize this kind friend, this kind person that we respect, this very good role model for others, was probably even more tired than we are. But this person is doing much more than we are. And if we think about it, we will realize this person doesn't seem to get tired. This person doesn't look like they're uncomfortable. They don't look like they were wishing that they were home with their feet up in a comfortable chair, relaxing. They look happy doing what they're doing, happy helping others. This is truly helping others. We will be overcoming our greed when we too can help others spontaneously. When not only do we help people who say, "Can you help me?" But more importantly, when we don't even wait to be asked, when we just do so. We can practice giving when we see somebody is upset, and we walk up and we hug them, or we smile at them. We instinctively give them whatever they need to make them feel better, when we ourselves, very honestly, did not feel like smiling and felt like we might need somebody to help us. But in helping others, it will be just as good and even better than if somebody had helped us. When we give in this way, when we give as bodhisattvas do, we will not feel tired. Even if we felt tired when we began doing something, as we do it, we realize we're no longer tired. We feel alert. We feel happy. We feel calm. We're not worried about all those things we were an hour ago. We're concentrating on helping others. We don't have a lot of wandering thoughts. We're not getting upset. We're not having all the negative feelings that seem to be constantly bombarding us. We have all the good feelings. This is from truly giving to others. We can also give by teaching. Many people do not have possessions to give. Many people already live very simply. Many people have barely enough for themselves and their families to eat. Have barely adequate shelter to live in. May not have adequate clothing. May have nothing physical that they can give in the way of possessions. But maybe they have wisdom. Maybe in a former lifetime, they practiced the giving of teaching, and they have wisdom in this lifetime. Again, they can practice the giving of teaching. All of us have something that we are better at than some others are. It doesn't need to be a major teaching. It can be something very minor. But it is something that we know they do not, and they wish to know. We can teach them how to do what we know and they wish to know, so they will acquire the wisdom, the skill. And then in the future, we will again have the wisdom to help others. Even if we do not have possessions, we can still smile at others. We can still be kind. We can still be respectful to others. We can still be kind to all beings around us. We can help all beings to feel safe around us. A form of giving is the giving of fearlessness. The other day at lunch, I was talking to a practitioner, and she was talking about having some snakes in her home. Most of us, if we found snakes in the garden, would not be very happy. especially if we found a rather large python that was so large we were worried about the safety of our cat. Many of us, out of instinct, would have killed the snake. This practitioner and her husband, who technically is not a Buddhist practitioner but is a Buddhist at heart, called a person to come and catch the snake. They asked, "What are you going to do with the snake when you release it? Where are you going to release it?" And he told them that he was going to take it far from where people were and release it back into a natural habitat. After he captured the snake, he carefully checked it, examined it to make sure that it hadn't been harmed, that it was still as healthy as it was as when he had gotten there. He then took it and released it into a safe environment. This is the giving of fearlessness. This is helping other beings feel safe around us. Because this giving of fearlessness, of safety, was not given to just one being, to this snake. That was the obvious receiver. Every thought we have is instantly felt throughout the universe. Because we learn in the Flower Adornment Sutra that we are all one entity. As we are all one entity, we are all interrelated, interconnected. We just don't really realize it at this point. But every thought we have is instantly felt throughout the universe. One thought of kindness, of saving a life, in this case was actually possibly saving two lives, that of the cat and that of the snake. The thought was, save lives. Do not even harm or cause fear to another being. This thought of compassion, of loving kindness, was giving. And that thought of giving was felt by beings in other dimensions who were in that same garden, was felt by beings on the other side of the universe. Many of us in this instant, out of greed, out of thinking, my cat is mine, this garden is mine, would have attacked the snake. But the thought was not of greed. The action did not arise from greed. The action arose spontaneously from loving kindness and care. It was giving, as bodhisattvas give. When we give this way, gradually, we will find ourselves feeling good after we have done that. And even though we should not attach to our emotions, good or bad, we are still very much ordinary beings. And in the initial stages of giving, we will feel gladness and joy after we have truly given. in time, after we have practiced our giving more and more, after we find ourselves able to give away our most valued possessions, after we have found ourselves looking at what we have always valued, maybe we have had it most of our lifetime, but we look at that possession and we think, who would like this? And we give it to that person. As we do this more and more, we will find ourselves thinking less and less of what we have done. The Buddha's teachings are unbelievably profound, unbelievably simple. They can be as profound as all the teachings within the great Buddhist canon, all the teachings of the Buddha. They can be as simple as eradicate all that is bad, embrace all that is good, purify the mind. First, we stop our greed. We start to eradicate that which is bad. Because our greed leads us to all the other poisons, leads us to life after lifetime of suffering, trying to hold on, trying to gain things, other people. Not truly understanding we can gain, hold on to none of these. But that greed is very deep within us. And we have many bad habits over many lifetimes. So initially, when we practice giving, first we try to eradicate the greed. We feel the happiness from giving something to somebody, and that is a good first step. Gradually, as we continue to embrace all that is good, we will find ourselves thinking less of how we feel happy after doing something, because very honestly, that happiness is still a form of greed. It is a less harmful greed, but it is still an attachment. But it's the normal process that we go through. But gradually, we will find ourselves giving spontaneously, and then no longer even thinking about it. We no longer think we feel happy. We find instead that we maintain a very quiet, level state of happiness. We find that when things go our way, we no longer give rise to the heart of greed. We do not think, things have gone my way. I really would like this to continue. Tomorrow, I'd like to be as good as today. Somebody has given me something. I'd like to have more. This is greed. I have said that anger comes from greed. Anger is another reaction of greed. If we are greedy and things do not go our way, then we can give rise to the heart of anger. We did not get what we wanted. We. Again, we is in the thought. We did not gain what we wanted. Because of this greed, we get angry. Why did you not do what I wanted? Why are you not accepting my idea? I know my idea is right. If it's my idea, it has to be right. If you have a different idea, logically, your idea has to be wrong. Greed. This is thinking you and I are different. This is not realizing that we are one being. When we encounter situations that are favorable, try not to give rise to the heart of greed. Try to be quietly happy, unattached with what is happening. But much more often, things will not go the way we want. More people will want to do something differently than the way we want to do it. So we will have to go along with their way. This is when we need to not give rise to that heart of anger. To not be attached to our way of doing things. If what they are doing is proper, is good, go along with it. There is no point in getting angry. Think of what it felt like to be happy. Think of what it felt like to give in to anger. Which felt better? We all know the first one felt better. But as has been so often said, we have unbelievable bad habits. Very difficult to break them. But the Buddhas taught us giving to do so. We practice giving in every moment that we can. As soon as the opportunity arises, and the opportunity arises all the time, we can simply practice the giving of smiling. Even if there is no one around, we can smile. Initially, when we try to do this, we will feel somewhat embarrassed when somebody walks into the room and we're sitting there smiling to ourselves. Our first reaction will be a slight touch of embarrassment. That embarrassment will very quickly go away, because it is very difficult. We have to be very upset, very angry, to look at somebody who is smiling and not feel better and start to smile ourselves. So we can just smile and be very quietly happy. Others will feel that. When we are around people who are immersed in greed, we can feel it. We do not feel comfortable with these people. they seem to radiate hostile feelings, negative feelings. We can feel that. The whole room feels comfortable. When we are with somebody who practices giving, we can feel that. And we feel happy just being in the same room with them. We can feel the vibrations from their thoughts. There are other beings in this room. We cannot see them. Some of them can see us. Even when we are alone in a room where we think we are by ourselves, we are never alone. There are always other beings with us. There are always other beings who can sense our thoughts if they do not know our thoughts. When we are quietly giving a sense of joy, we are making them and all others happy. We are helping them to feel secure, safe. If we practice giving, if we start to eradicate our greed, others will notice. They may not say anything. They will notice. And they will notice that in our giving, when others give, the giver, the true giver, is the happier person. This is how we can teach others, by never even saying a word. This is to truly teach others, because this is the best way, by setting a good example. If someone tells us to give, but they do not give, we really do not believe what they say. But if we just see somebody who seems to have so little, but who is constantly giving things away, see somebody is not eating very much and says, "Here, have this." Learn from their example. This is the good teacher. Greed is very ugly. It leads to many, many negative emotions. It leads us to being born in the lower realms. It keeps us mired in the suffering of reincarnation. We protect ourselves, our possessions, our ideas, our knowledge, because we think our wisdom, our knowledge, our ideas, our possessions are real. But our ideas, possessions, body is not real. Giving is real. Giving is the practice of a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas practice giving to eradicate all their greed. They give everything. They give their lives. And they feel no attachment to having done so. With the exception of the mother and her child, the parent and the child. Very few of us are able to give our lives for another. But surely we can start giving teachings. Surely every single one of us can smile at somebody else. Surely most of us have things that we can give to others. In so doing, we will feel happy. We will begin to feel free. We will begin to feel lighter. Because our attachments will start to drop away from us. And as we give, we will start to reduce our negative karma. Because our greed has led us to accumulate negative karma. So now we can begin to let go. In so doing, we will attain freedom. And we will no longer be attached. And if we do so, and if we vow to be born into the Pure Land, and we chant, or if we wish to be born into heaven, and we practice being a good person, then, if we do so properly, we can attain what we seek. And in our seeking, we will be on the path to awakening, to enlightenment. And we will be helping all other beings attain this as well. Thank you.